Hello and welcome to Food Safety Fridays. My name is Simon Timperley from the International Food Safety and Quality Network. Today we're going to be talking about food safety in transportation, food design in food safety design in food transportation with our good friend Vladimir Sachinsky. Are you there, Vladimir? He's just gone off.
Yes.
There he is. There
Hello, hello everyone.
With his lovely blue sky behind him, looking good.
I tried to find the perfect background, but all of them I uploaded with some kind of stretch, and I said, this one, it's fresh, it's nice, it's summer.
Perfect. See, it pushes you forward and really accentuates your features and everything.
It slimmers me.
Yeah, it makes you look great.
Thank you very much.
I need one of those backgrounds. Tell us where you're joining us from in the sidebar. Let's have a look. Janet from Maine, Ruth from Nottingham, Brenda from USA, Domenico from Italy, Job from Kenya. Literally all over the world.
Yeah, New Jersey, South Africa, well, nice. India, perfect.
Yeah, so you're all welcome. We're just going to play the sponsors ads and then we'll get on with the presentation with Vladimir.
Yes, see you later. Okay, thank you very much. And once again, welcome to everyone. I see that you're coming from all over the world, and today we have more than 800 registered persons for today's webinar, and I'm really happy to see you all here. This means that this is really interesting topic. Yeah. Thank you very much, Simon, for organizing these Food Safety Fridays, and also International Food Safety and Quality Network for organizing a place where food safety professionals all over the world can exchange their opinion, can see some of the new things, and can understand what is going on, what is new in the food safety industry and food safety life, I will say it right now, yeah? Probably all of you already know me from some of the conferences, know me from Food Safety Fridays, Food Safety Live, and thank you very much for you connecting with me on LinkedIn, but also coming to all of these webinars that I'm doing here and that Simon is hosting. I started my career in the retail company in a quality sustainability department, and I was responsible for 3 countries at that time. I'm located in Belgrade in Serbia and was responsible for Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also Montenegro retail stores, distributive centers, and implementation of the HCCP, of course. Worked there until 2014 when I started working for the Quality Austria as a product manager, later on as a business development, but mainly as an auditor and trainer. And I have really trained more than 10,000 people now. I think even more. I always use this amount, but I think even more now, and audited more than 1,000 companies. So, of course, this is a great experience entering in all kind of food productions, all kind of raw material productions, all kind of warehouses, and learning about different processes from a different point of view of different GFSI standards. as this came to a really interesting knowing of people. In 2021, I started working with MFIT, which is International Association for Supply Chain Safety. And regarding this, this was really interesting because at that time we have talked about some of the points connected with transport and what was missed in these standards. And then with all of this, I have seen, yes, this is a big problem because this is not covered as it should be. So I started working with MFIT, and in 2024, even more. Now I'm there as a vice president and the CEO. And today I would like to share with you all of these new findings that we have discovered. And I would like to introduce to you why it is important to understand the topic about transport design and why transport design matters in food safety and food safety supply chain. So first of all, I would like shortly to explain to you complexity of the food supply chain. I always do it at the beginning because, you know, every time we talk about the transport, we always mention this under number 3, saying that this is the actually food supply chain, yeah, having secondary production or distribution, and then this is transported to the retail store, and this is a short supply chain. But in reality, this supply chain is much more complex, which means that we have also primary production and then transport in different transporting units, which could be tanks, silos, IBCs, refrigerated transport, going to the secondary production, and then after that, from the secondary production as a consumer product going to the retail store. But it goes even further, having some raw materials from farms even, or from the fields, that are transported to the primary production. So when we say from farm to fork, what gets the food from farm to fork is actually a transport. But somehow in the whole complexity of the supply chain, this transport is not mentioned in such a level like we would mention primary production or a secondary production, and not to mention the cleaning station that comes in between them. Today, I will not talk more about the cleaning stations because we had one more webinar which was before this. And if you go to the IFSQN website, you will find over there recorded webinars where we talked about the cleaning in the cleaning stations. We talked about the validation of the cleaning. And I think you will find additional useful information over there. Today, we are focusing about the transport and transport design, but primarily talking about the risk factors in supply chain that are connected with the design we can find in every step. In the step of loading process risk, there is a design of loading equipment, which is very important. Then we talk about the design of transport unit loading parts. And these are the parts that are on transporting units like tank, on a transporting unit like silo or a box container, also connectors, different hoses, etc. Then there is a direct risk connected with transport unit, which we will focus today, like the fact that all of these transport units, they need to be produced somewhere, which means that the production needs to be done in a most hygienic way, and then also according to some rules and regulations. Then we have a continual use and suitability of transport unit, which means that when the transport unit is produced, it's not only that it is saved on the production, but it needs to be continually safe while using for next 20 or 30 or even more years in a transport. Regular tests and certifications are part of that. And of course, design of the sealing places for prevention of sabotage or any fraudulent activities. Unloading also comes with the process risks. There are risks with the design of unloading equipment, design of transport unit safety protections, design of transport unit pumps and or even air pipes and air compressors used for unloading. I will show you many of these examples. And then we come to the cleaning station, where we also need to think about design. And this is actually design of transport unit suitability for cleaning, because transport unit doesn't have to be only suitable to transport food, but it needs to be suitable that it can be connected with the equipment used for cleaning and made of materials that are easily cleanable. This means use of proper materials, and this additionally means continual cleaning suitability. Of course, when we talk about the transport, some of you might ask, isn't this something that's already regulated and standardized? Well, ladies and gentlemen, yes, it is. When you look at the legislation, transporters are considered as food business operators, FBO, food business operators. So in the whole supply chain, according to the definition of the food business operators are those who are handling the food, which means that transporters are definitely handling the food. They are transporting the food. This food could be packed, but could be also in bulk and could be in contact with the surfaces in which the transport unit is transporting this food. So they are definitely defined as a food business operator. This is what we have concluded. Unfortunately, this is not the case for the cleaning stations. As I said, I will not talk about them, but there is a lot of things to talk about them. Look at the other recordings and videos regarding this. Visit the MFIT website and you will find out more about it. Today, we are focusing actually on the transporters, transporting units. So let's look what is the applicable regulation and food safety system certification. So in the EU only, we have the regulation like European Regulation 178 for the food safety. And when you look at this, there are articles saying that transport must not make food unsafe. Transporters are responsible for food safety during carriage. They must ensure also traceability. They must act if transport-related contamination is found, and also confirms regulation covers transport as a part of distribution. Going even in more details, Regulation 852 is saying specific hygiene requirements for food transport units, meaning equipment in transport must be cleanable and made from suitable materials, saying that not that you are as a transporter just responsible and not that you are just a food business operator, but you also need to have a proper design that is cleanable. You have to have a suitable materials over there. And of course, this means that this is enforced through the compliance with through the whole food chain. And additionally, that HCCP must include transport risk and control measures. So in every applicable regulation, in every applicable food safety systems and the certification, we have in basic the Codex for Good Hygienic Practices and HCCP. And over there, under requirement of 15.1, you will find a general requirement saying food should be adequately protected during transport. But additionally, when you go in details, you will see that requirements saying conveyances, bulk containers should be designed and constructed so that they do not contaminate foods or packaging, can be effectively cleaned and disinfected and dried, permit effective separation, and more and more and more. So you see, even if you have any food safety system like FSSC 22000, like BRC, like IFS, in the basic of all of these standards, what you have over there requirement saying, yes, you need to comply with the design of the transporter. And this would mean even if you have your own transport, but on the other hand, if you have engaging external transport, this means that they need to comply with this requirement. And I want to show you here that you know these requirements, because next time when you are asking for someone to transport your food, you also need to cover this, this transport must be designed, and they must show you actually some of the requirements. And I see some of you are already mentioning within the USA that you have Sanitary Transportation of Food Act as part of FSMA, which is a new regulation. Well, not so new, but new. And I will just copy for you the part from that regulation right now in the chat box. and you will see in the chat box what is there required by the FDA as a requirement. Yeah. But I will also use the opportunity while you are reading that just to add 2 more parts that are saying about sanitary condition, that are saying about other rules, and I will copy it for you so you have it there in the chat box and you can read it while we go through to the next things. So I don't want to talk about regulation because we see now that in the regulation, it is very clear. Regulation is saying that you should have a transport that is designed correctly. And on the other hand, there is also the regulation that is saying that not just designed correctly, it means that not just your transport internally, but also external transport. Coming back to the Global Food Safety Initiative standards and regulations, over there you have a list of requirements, but the first one in FSSC, in IFS, in BRC, in SQF is saying intended use of the transport unit vehicle, including the proper design. So now we have concluded that the regulation is there. So yes, there is something that is already regulated and standardized, but is this applied by transporters? Well, results of the more than 50 transport hygiene risk analyses that are done by MFIT International Association for the Supply Chains just shows that this is not applied by all transporters. It is applied very, very weakly. So what is the actual problem there? I will show you just part of the problem, starting from the process where we have locations with the loading, unloading. So there are problems connected with the loading, unloading equipment and design. Sometimes if this equipment is not designed correctly, we can have a different potential physical hazards that could come from this equipment. And these physical hazards can finish not just in the transport inside of the food, but it can finish in your factory. Also, when we talk about the loading, unloading equipment, we are not talking just about the pumps, but we are also talking about the hoses that can be used there. And don't forget that in many cases, when we talk about the liquid transport, silo transport of powdered granulate materials, these are the materials of equipment that are in direct contact with food. So please pay attention when you are selecting your next hoses that you're going to purchase, that they are designed in a proper way, meaning the material in contact. But not just the material. Look, in every regulation and standard we mentioned here, it's not just the material, but it is also a design that it is cleanable, which means that you need to clean this equipment, that you need to clean these hoses, and that they shouldn't be damaged during this cleaning, which means continual suitability. Yes. One of the interesting findings are connected with the unloading of the products from the silos or from the tanks, no matter if it's a liquid or maybe it's powder materials. Mainly these products are unloaded with the use of the air, pressured air, which means that this air is coming from the compressors. Now, over there we come to a certain level of problems. Why? Because when we talk about the air, and you will see many webinars done here on the IFSQN when we talk about the air, but only about the use of compressed air in the factory. But we somehow forget that there is also air that is coming here inside of the tank or inside of the silo, and this air is produced by the compressor that is over there on the truck of the transporting vehicle. Yeah. So this means that air is taken from the outside, goes through the compressor, goes through some kind of filters, and then goes into a pipeline with the compressed air, later on coming to direct contact with the product in order to push this product that this product can go easily out of this tank or silo or whatever transport unit. So you see, there could be lots of problems connected with that, because sometimes these compressors could be an oil compressors, which could lead to a leakage, and then oil finishes in these air pipes, which means that oil particles can finish in your product. Additionally, design of the compressors means that they need to also be that there are some kind of filters, but this means that these filters needs to be removed or cleaned or exchanged in some certain time amount. But sometimes these filters are just missing. They are not there, yeah? Which means that even if it's designed, their continual suitability is something that is not, it is unfortunately not applied. I will mention here also one of the findings with the producer of hoses we talked about. When we use the hoses for the air in our facilities, these hoses must be also food suitable. But when we talk about the hoses here on a transporting unit, you see these hoses are not always food suitable. Why is that? It is because of the inside of the surfaces of the hoses that could be designed from a materials, and when the compressed air is going inside, it has a higher temperature, which could destroy this type of hoses. That's why the other hoses are used, which are not sometimes food suitable. And this is something to change in the future in the design and talk with the hose producers. Going further, when you look at the design of the air pipes, you can see from this photo, and I ask you, is this easy to clean? So you can imagine that this is a closed system, that there are pipes that could be long more than 20 meters of pipelines only on one transport unit. And it begins with this part, which is actually a part with some kind of filter. Someone would say it's a microfilter, but sometimes we don't find a filter inside. And you see, there could be a lots of problems connected with the cleaning of all of these angles that are there. On a photo on the left, you can see this angle above, which could also become a problem. And I will show you how this could become a problem when you go through all of these slides. So looking at some other designs, one of the biggest problems is that transporting units are not unique, which means that, for example, if you are buying a car, and you expect to buy Mercedes, that if you buy some, maybe E-Class, that you will get the same Mercedes always, because of the design and the expectations. But when you are buying transport units, the tanks, the cisterns, and silos, then there are specific requirements of the customer to design or redesign something so that this can be connected to their own hoses of the loading, unloading equipment. And you see sometimes this design is just going wrong, having all of these angles, having all of these valves, having all of these places that needs to be welded, and then you have this welding around that sometimes it's not done perfectly. It doesn't help the cleaning of the inside, and cleaning of the inside becomes the very, very important. Yeah. At the end of these pipes, and right just before there is a contact of the air with your products, there are, especially on silo, there are these filter boxes. So you see inside of these are the filters. You have these parameters checking the work of these filters, but look how design of these filters looks like. Yeah, you also have some kind of valves over there. You also have all of these angles. You also have a sealing places that are not always defined clearly, and you have seen on the left photo some of the seals are there, some of the seals are missing. There are no clear rules what should be sealed there and what is important. But looking here, you see already that there is some problematic, which means that this box needs to be clean every time, which means disassembling of this requires a lot of time in the cleaning station, and a lot of time in the cleaning station will immediately affect the price of the cleaning. Yeah. So if the price of the cleaning is high, some of the transporters would say, you don't have to clean it every time. So if the cleaning is not done every time, you can imagine what you can find inside. And sometimes design of these filters inside is not done properly. Why? Because it could lead to a slower unloading. And you know, in the interest of the transporters is that they transport more, that they unload faster, and sometimes they would just remove the filters from the inside. These are our findings that we have seen already. I'm talking from the experience there. Yeah. This is also an air pipe. Air pipe, which is very interesting. Looking here, that there is in this barometer, you see the water that is done probably due to cleaning, and then this water goes into barometer, which means that this water also remained inside of these pipes. And this could also initially mean that this water will be in contact with loaded product, maybe even during the unloading. Looking at the top part, and I will try to show you this. Let me just try to set up. So looking at the upper part, you see this is a pipeline that goes here. Just a second. Yep. This is the pipeline that goes here. And this pipeline, or the line for the air, is coming up here, which means that it goes inside of the manhole right here. And going inside of the manhole means that later on it will push the product when the compressed air is pushed through these pipelines. But look now here that this part over here is just a dead end, which means that all of this is just standing there. It is closed here at the end, what I'm showing, so it cannot be opened, which means that whole of this part, which could be more than 1 meter, is just, it cannot be cleaned. During the transport, the food is moved in the tank. And by moving this food, part of this liquid food is entering also these air pipes. So how this looks like actually. So you see here on the photo, proper design is important for proper cleaning. Sometimes they would fill the tank. Let's say this is a chocolate example. They would try to fill in as much as possible, going to the opening to the manhole. And then you see there are entering of this here, entering of the air pipes. So the general thing would be that the transporter or the driver, close this valve. And when he closes the valve, the idea is that then transported product cannot enter these air pipes. But sometimes, driver forgets to close this valve. Sometimes these valves are just damaged and they are leaking. And definitely, we would say in more than 80% of cases, it happens that the product just enters these air pipes, meaning that this product can go inside, it cools down, and then it becomes hardened. So next time when you are transporting, for example, some oil, and if these air pipes are not cleaned sufficiently, then these particles can go inside of the oil, and you can see these particles when you start unloading as a contaminant. So you can imagine now if this previous product actually was an allergen. This is a big amount of allergen that can finish in your product. And look, one of the things that were not cleaned properly, and this is only and due to only the bad design. So you would ask where this is located. Maybe it's a photo from the toilet. Well, no, this is actual photo that you can find at the you see here manhole. Yeah. So this is a manhole. This is actually a proper thing. You see, it can be open, but the design is done in a way when you are putting the water and the cleaning inside, that the water is going, of course, down, yeah? And because water is going here, going down, there is no water that can be cleaned this part that is up, because we have this 90 degrees corner here. And because of this 90 degrees, water would always go here down, which means that even if there is a pressure, there is not sufficient pressure that could clean this. And you see there is a remain of not just previous product, but who knows how many previous products. And this becomes also a potential place of contamination that will finish in your raw material that you will receive in your factory if you do not control it properly, if you do not think about who is transporting the raw material for you or your final product for you, how these transport units are designed and how they are cleaned. Of course, when we look inside and we have the equipment to look inside, there are also many problems. These are the gaskets that are used to connect, of course, some kind of hoses or the places. And we should look at this gasket as something that needs to be regularly changed. Of course, if the design is not good, then and these gaskets can be squeezed a lot, which then makes the potential to become a physical hazard. So you see how this gasket, even the blue color, is squeezed, and in cases of a movement of the product, it can be also ripped off and then finishes in your product. So sometimes you are asking, oh, where this plastic is coming from in my product, what is going on? And it comes from the transporting unit inside. You should have in your mind that these transporting units are movable. This is not the tank. This is not the pipeline that is inside of your factory. This is a tank and the pipeline that is on the road, which means that it has loading, unloading, different types of cleaning, transporting, driving, different conditions outside of the weather, which all influences the materials, but also the design. Inside, we have found so many potential contaminations that could come from the inside of the transporting equipment, and not just the bad valvings, but also damaged materials, some condensation that remains, and especially after a long time of usage, cleaning, etc., where these cleaning agents are affecting the suitability of materials. You can see on some of these photos also the rust, and this rust then, of course, moves, and it also becomes a potential physical hazard for your product. So very important is to understand how design works and also how to build properly the equipment. Looking inside of the tank, yes, this is inside of the tank for those who have never seen it. And I've really liked this photo, and thanks to our colleagues from MFIT, they made it. This is tank after the cleaning. So the question is material suitability. So you see on your left, you see all of these marks that shows that the transport is damaged here. For example, also these scratches here, it could be due to equipment. So all of this now opens the potential for the contact with the deeper layers of this material, which could lead to potential chemical contamination of the transported goods. But in these cases, even look how the cleaning is done, not properly, with all of these scratches over there, with the remains of the previous cleaning, maybe because the surface is not really done in a way that you can easily clean it. Yeah, and as you have seen in the requirements, it says that the surfaces needs to be cleanable and easy to sanitize, etc. So you see, if this is not done, then you have some of these results. Sometimes this could be a failure of the cleaning equipment, but you see, these are remains of some previous products in really great amount, which means that it is not always cleaned in the same cleaning station, but it could be cleaned in a different cleaning stations. So I don't suppose that in every cleaning station equipment failed, yeah. But I think that here, and we agreed on it, the problem is with the material suitability. Of course, when we talk about looking inside of the tank, there are some controls of cleaning that are traditionally done by putting your head inside. Maybe that's why it is called a manhole, because a man puts the head inside. Majority of the cleaning personnel and drivers are men, which means that they have to put in very unsafe way their head inside and see visually, is it clean? So we had to develop some new style, and this is a camera 360 in order to capture photo inside. And this was the previous photo I was showing you. It was taken by this digital control with 360 camera. You for sure can find this information. I will share it in the chat also, the links where you can find these materials and also purchase it by yourself. The same thing is looking inside of the tanks. This is done with the borescope tool, which has its camera, light. You can take video or photo and then discover what is going on. It is very suitable, both of this equipment, on your loading or unloading controls, on your cleaning controls. So we also from MFIT recommend using of them. So now I have shown you what is really going on, yeah? And we would say it's more than 80% of the transporters of food that have some kind of a lack of the design of the transporting units and some kind of the problems during this continuous suitability. But MFIT solution at the end is saying that the design is not just the compliance, but it is also the application of the safety. That's why MFIT have defined a lot of guidelines, which are the industry best practice guidelines. All of these guidelines you can find on our webpage, or you can find also on different parts of the MFIT. I will share some of these links with you in the chat box, so you can go there, you can check it, what is there, and enjoy in this. If you want, you can also contact me. I will share, you can contact me on LinkedIn or via email. I will share it also with you in the chat box, and we can discuss further. I can give you more inputs about these guidelines. For now, we have different guidelines that are talking about the food safety in the supply chain, about cleaning, disinfection of the refrigerated. Now there is a guideline we are working on, and this is for reusable packaging, also in contact with food products. So this is a big thing that will be changing in future until 2030 with this PPWR regulation. But recently we have also done several guidelines that are new. One of which I'm going to mention is this MFIT DIN 10502 inspection guideline, which actually focuses detailing on the design of transport units and transport unit equipment. Due to the situations in the world, what is going on now, we have also defined a guideline for the food, feed, and chemical defense. Why we have done that? Because we have realized that when we talk about the food defense, this food defense is mainly done with all the tools for the analysis for the actually productions, yeah, for the production facilities. But when we talk about the transport and logistic, these tools and regulations and even the details are not really detailedly explained there. So we sit down with the expert team and we have defined a guideline for food and chemical defense, for transport and logistic, with many details inside on how to implement that, yeah, in order to prevent sabotages or any potential fraudulent activities. And then we have also realized that application of the Codex Good Hygienic Practice and HCCP for cleaning station is not really, let's say, applicable. So it's applicable partially for this process. So we needed to sit down with the expert team, and we have also defined a new guideline. This is all published in the previous few months. So if you are interested, you have here my LinkedIn profile and also my email. You can write it, connect with me, and we can go in further details. But now I want to continue with this inspection, MFID DIN inspection guideline. So why this guideline was actually defined? Because we needed a way to inspect transport units that are just produced or that are already in use, which means that now this is our colleague here laughing, our country vice president from Poland, which have done so many of these checks, and you see how these hygienic rules are applied even in the inspection. And I thank to this colleague very much for sending us these photos that we can have it today for this webinar. So you see, he would enter inside, look with the tools, and really check everything what is going on in order to approve newly produced transport units, or also to approve the transport unit that is already in use. Why this is relevant? Because transport container materials and surfaces, and also integrated non-removable attachments, they need to be made from stainless steels. This is for all the openings for loading, for discharge opening, air inlet points, also protected against vacuum damage, safety valves, insulated valves, etc. All of this needs to be made from the stainless steel, and it needs to be designed in a way to prevent, to make easier to clean, but also to prevent any kind of potential contamination due to remains of product. Beside the stainless steel inside, there are also rubber and plastic materials. I have shown you some of them, like gaskets, also called seal, are used to create these closures around various fixed and non-fixed attachments, including also hose connectors, valves, etc. And this means that they need, or these connections need to be designed in a way that does not damage these rubber connectors during the time of transporting of the food. Of course, during the time they become rigid, they dry, they need to be removed. Of course, they need to be cleaned every time, but just for this start, to understand that this design also needs to be controlled. And of course, I mentioned the hoses. Food-graded hoses needs to be used in transport tank, and they must meet strict hygiene and safety standards to prevent contamination. These food-graded hoses needs to be also made from non-toxic food safety materials, also in line with the regulations for materials in contact with food. No matter if it's FDA regulation or EU regulation, it needs to be applied there. So this would mean that during the DIN inspection, these hoses are checked, but also evidences that they are approved. Of course, after checking of the transport unit, for those transport containers units that passed this inspection, they will have a label over there saying that they are MFID food approved, DIN 10502/1. Why this is important? Because we are now inventing something totally new, meaning that all transport units one day will have a label on them showing that they are approved. This certification and the inspection of the transport unit is done on every 2 years, so that there is a thing what I'm mentioning several times now called continual suitability. So this would also mean that when transport unit comes on your site for loading, unloading, you will see on it that it is for food with the label for food only. But you will see also the MFID food approved label that shows actually that this transport unit was tested and it is designed according to the food regulation and according to the design that is safe for transporting the food. Additionally, there would be a global identification number connected with MFID blockchain technology, and then by scanning, you can get a certificate that shows when was the last check of this transport unit, or to plan the next check for those who are transporters, etc. This is additionally connected with the cleaning certificates in the cleaning station. so that complete supply chain is connected. Looking just for the part of the transporter, you see how this information travels from cleaner to the loader, unloader. It is connected with a unique identification number which made the twin of the transporting unit in a digital system, so that everyone can know that this transport unit is certified, is checked, is approved, and designed in a correct way according to this DIN norm 10502. So at the very end, what needs to be done? Design must support hygiene. You have seen in several cases that design must be done in a way not just by selecting materials, but also by doing the designing of the pipes, of the angles on the transporting unit, of the valves and everything. It needs to be designed in a way to support hygiene, proper cleaning, proper removal of all potential debris there inside, also all potential remains of the previous load. Standards need to set clear expectations. Right now, what we have in the regulation and standards is too general. And meaning that it is too general, it also shows that there is no way to industry to understand what is needed. That's why in MFIT we are giving more detailed way how to understand this, how to also set up these clear expectations, especially with the guidelines. That I already mentioned. Of course, when we talk about, as I said, design is compliance and safety, but innovation, what we are doing together here is safety and efficiency, of course. So not just for the transporters to say, oh, transporters are not doing the thing. Yes, they are doing everything that is possible. But of course, some of you also said what we need to specify to transport contractors. Yeah, you need the knowledge to know what to specify to transport contractors. So you can talk with us. We can talk about it, and etc. Yes, John, I can answer also on your question. Specific design standard guideline following codex requirements exists for transport. It has something around 6 or 9 pages. I cannot remember now, but all of these are very general requirements saying you need a good design, but nobody is saying how this design should look like. That's why there is a DIN norm 10502, which says how it should look like inside: hoses, valves, pipes, connectors, manholes, openings, etc., etc. And we recommend using of this DIN norm. So logical next term is MFIT safety and security. You can follow me on LinkedIn and also the MFIT. You can check the website, but you can also write directly to me at suchinsky@mfit.eu and connect on LinkedIn. I will mention also one more thing regarding the IFSQN. On 15 of this month, there will be a practical supplier auditor training, and Simon will share with you this link for the registration. And with this, we have come to the end of today's presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and I would gladly now answer on all of your.
Okay. Thank you very much. Excellent as usual.
Thank you.
Just to answer, yes, you will get a certificate after completing the webinar. You must complete the webinar though first, and then you'll get a certificate. You'll get the slides and the recording and everything. Letitia's asked, can you share a link to the cleaning stations? You know, the video and presentation for the cleaning stations. Is that possible?
Yeah, this is a previous one. Please, Letitia, just contact me on LinkedIn, and I will find it later on the IFSQN, the previous one that we recorded, and we'll share with you. No problem.
Okay.
Or you write to my email. I have put the email now in the chat box.
Great. Question from BG Ravikumar. Is the transport unit designed for closed products such as frozen fish packed in cartons, reefer containers are well designed to protect the product from any contamination, including food defense? Is this considered as compliant to the requirements of BRC, IFS, FSSC?
As I said, the requirement over there is saying you shall have a design that is suitable, but nobody's saying what is suitable. Yeah, so that's what we are doing. We are actually creating this information, what is suitable, working with the producers, with the transporters, but also with the productions of raw materials and final consumer products in a way to discuss with them what they can expect, and to show them, if you are purchasing this or if you are purchasing this service of transport, what you shall ask for. Yeah, of course, this is not terrible. Even if the design is not done properly, there are easy ways to correct that, to fix that, to change that together with the producer. And yeah, there should be only a will to do that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And another question from Ravi Kumar. For the tankers, is CIP cleaning recommended?
Well, it depends from the type of product that is transported, so CIP cleaning can be used as for example, in dairies, where the CIP is generally used also for the cleaning of the big tanks for the storaging of milk. But there are also other technologies used for the cleaning of transporting units, which are not always CIP technologies, and they can be more effective even in this case.
Okay. Question from Valentina. Great presentation, really helpful perspective on food safety in the supply chain. I'm curious, how would a food safety auditor, GFSI schemes, actually check or evaluate for these elements?
Yeah, Valentina, thank you very much. As a GFSI auditor, that was also my question when we started in 2021 working together with MFIT, and I was shocked because as an auditor, you don't have a lot of time to check this, on site. Maybe you have 2 days of audit, and then in 2 days you have 45 minutes or 1 hour if you are lucky to check the transport. So what can you check? You can check the contracts, you can check the cleaning evidence, for example, or maybe you can be present on loading, unloading. But it's not what you are asking for, it's how this looks like and how you will recognize that this is a proper thing. So you can ask for the cleaning document and expect MFIT cleaning document there, which shows that everything is covered. If this is not, then you can always say to company to look upon that. The second thing is also about the certificate, what I mentioned, and also the label on the transport unit. How you can also check that by checking the contracts and what company is asking for from the transporter. If they are not asking for that, then it's good way to maybe, I know that as an auditor you cannot do the consultancy, but also as a recommendation, it could be that they go and ask for the inspected transported units according to the D norm and also cleaned according to the MFIT cleaning programs.
Okay, thanks. From Gail, what personal protective equipment would you recommend as minimal requirement for an inspector?
So in this case, for the inspector, there is no high hazard in this doing this inspection of the transport unit. Actually, the inspection of the transport unit doesn't last so long. Well, for our colleague, it lasts much shorter because he is now very, very skilled after checking more than 500 transporting units. But at the beginning, of course, you need to have a protective hat. You need to have equipment that is clean and suitable, which means that you don't contaminate additionally transporting unit. Also some protective shoes to not hurt yourself. But that should be it. Nothing very, very specific. Of course, you are depending from where you are entering. If you are entering into the transport unit with a manhole, you need to have this protective due to a potential fall, because it is very high when you are entering in this transporting unit.
Okay. Question from Gail. Any list of blast cargoes acceptable or banned to be checked at the time of the inspection?
No, there are no banned transport before the inspection, because before the inspection, transporting units, according to our guideline, need to be cleaned first, yeah, and after that the inspection is done. So the cleaning, if done according to the defined specified MFID program, would remove any potential previous load that was there. Especially we are dealing here with the food, so there are no hazardous loads, for example. And additionally, there is no pressured tanks, because they are clean, they are already opened, they're already checked, and then after that inspector is going in. Why? Because after cleaning he should also check, are there any places where the water remained after the final activity or the step of cleaning.
Okay. Francis is asking, what can we specify to transport contractors?
Yeah, I think, Simon, this is already, I have seen it in the chat that it is already answered, but I also mentioned during this that we can specify similar, like I said, for the auditors, what they should check, yeah? Okay. So you can specify to the contractors that they need to have a design transporting units that are checked according to the DIN norm 10502, and you can ask from them to deliver you the certificate which shows that the transport unit is inspected and approved. And this is available on every 2 years. It should be done on every 2 years. If they have not done it, you can ask from them to do that and to deliver you the certificate.
Sounds good. Kasim, how can link this training to non-liquid material, e.g. frozen chicken?
Yeah, we already, Kasim, mentioned that in the answer regarding the transporting box and fish and everything. So I presume frozen chicken is transported in the packed, as a packed product. So there is no direct contact with the materials, but definitely the design of the transporting units and transport vehicles needs to be done in a way to not damage, of course, the packaging, and of course the design. In this case, we are talking about the cooling equipment or the refrigeration equipment needs to be done in a way to cool it as properly and not to and of course, in order to make conditions for a proper transport, yeah, as labeled on the product.
Okay. Ellen, is there a guideline to powder bulk material?
Yes, in our guidelines, we always cover all types of materials that are transported, no matter if it's a liquid, it is powders, granulates, or whatever. All materials are covered in these guidelines.
Okay, just a few more. Sharon, is COP also recommended for the transport of containers?
Well, it depends what you consider under COP for the transport containers. Yeah, everything is recommended if it uses proper cleaning programs according in a proper conditions. Yeah, so if it's a cleaning station that is certified, that has all the equipment working correctly, and in this cleaning station works by trained employees according to the programs that are validated, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Nathan, for some reason it's not let me click it, but the question is from Nathan. Vladimir, are they working on better industrial hygienic design for tankers in the future, more accessible, easier attachments, NSF material used for housing, backflow valves with microfilters, etc.?
Not they, we are working. So there is a specific MFID task force now which is working on also this design in the future. So if you are a company, you want to connect about this, that we work together on this task force, you can also contact me via email and also on LinkedIn. And I will show you also what we have done until now with the guideline, but what is also a future, what we expect. This ENFI task force already started, and there is an idea to, at the end of this task force, to have a unified white paper which will solve all of these design problems I have shown you, connected with air pipes, connected with the pumps and everything else.
Okay. Question from Sige. Hello, I'm from Ethiopia and I work in peanut butter manufacturing company. My question is that when we clean the tanker, we can use chlorine. Is there any debris on it? We can rinse it twice. The other is during distribution, can we use just visual inspections? So is there any significant problem on the product?
Well, Tsegaye, the thing is not just how you clean, that you use the chlorine and that you rinse it twice. It is also the time you are using to do this. Yeah. So if you rinse it for 1 minute, then it could be that the tanker with more than 20,000 liters is just not rinsed properly, or it is not cleaned properly. Yeah. So of course, the water that is used needs to be approved for drinking conditions. So it also, if it remains in the transport unit, it could be a potential source of the contamination. But you are saying that the other is during distribution, we can use just visual inspection. Yeah, right now, the visual inspection is used. So let's say that if you are using now visual inspection, it could be for loading and unloading use, but please also implement a system for the verification at this moment, which would include maybe taking some sample like protein presence or ATP, or even allergen. If you are transporting peanuts, then you can have a specified allergen fast test that you can test your cleaning after that. And then you don't have to do it every time, but you can do it in some regular intervals, like monthly or whatever, weekly. And after cleaning, you take the sample from different places on the transporting unit to confirm that your cleaning program is done in a suitable way. In the other hand, you can also write to me on LinkedIn. I will show you some of the cleaning programs that ENFIT is doing, and we can discuss also about this whole program, what is applied there. Now we would need a lot of time, and we can answer to some people.
Okay, question from Labi. Is there a need to validate containers by temperature distribution testing?
Yeah, but this is not done as a part of this inspection for the design. It is done as a part of a different inspections that are also connected with the transport units.
Okay. Another question from Nathan. I know in the United States, OSHA states that would be a confined space based on the company's safety policy permits, insurance forms, and safety audits might be completed based. Is this a common question?
No, it's not a common question, and it is not really confined space. I can enter inside, and I'm a very big person. So it's not really confined space. If you would say, because it's not closed space, it can be open during the inspection. The manholes are open, or the back is open, especially on the silos. So as I said, also, when you look what is a confined space, it is also a question how long you will be there. Yeah, with this equipment we have shown you, like the camera 360 with the borescope, you have the option to finalize this inspection is in 2 hours. If you are, let's say, skilled, even faster, but let's say 2.5 hours is needed for this, which goes very, very fast. Yeah.
Okay, great. I think we've got through them all. So yeah, lots of good comments as well, Vlad. You know, thank you very much. Great presentation, etc. So yeah, Amazing. Thanks very much for your time today. We've run over 5 minutes, but it was well worth it. Put your certificate in the side by everybody. You can download that, add your own name to it, and we'll follow up with an email with the slides and the recording after. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much for organizing everything, Simon, and to the IFS Gwen.
No worries.
Goodbye, everyone.